Since the 1970s, video games have been part of our culture. First there was Pong, then Pac-Man, then we had plumbers and a blue hedgehog. Then by the mid-90s, a green soldier on a mission to rid Mars from the armies of hell. As you can imagine, this turned some heads.
We knew it was going to be a monster hit. When the people from GT Interactive Software sat us down and gave us a clue as to what kind of numbers Doom is doing in pre-orders, we all hit the floor. We couldn't believe it. It's phenomenal.
On the 10th of December 1993, ID Software's Doom was released to the public. Its immediate success and long-lasting legacy would make the title one of the most famous and celebrated video games of all time.
Doom takes place on the UAC base on Mars. After a terrible accident involving teleporters opening the gate to hell, the monsters within rush out and overthrow the facility, with their goal being to invade Earth. As the lone survivor, you must take up arms and close the gate by force. Doom, at its core, is a simple, fast and incredibly addictive first-person shooter. Its only rule: if it moves, shoot it. Doom doesn't need to rely on complex characters, a strong narrative or a structured goal. ID Software focused on making the game fun, accessible and memorable first, and then worrying about the details later on. Doom is comprised of 4 episodes: Knee Deep in the Dead, The Shores of Hell, Inferno, and its add-on episode, Thy Flesh Consumed, which came in this amazing box. The typical gameplay of Doom is shooting down anything that moves, finding keys to open locked doors, and doing your best to survive as long as possible and make it to the exit. Each level progressively gets harder and has a specific theme depending on the episode. At the end of the first episode, Knee Deep in the Dead, the player must face 2 barons of hell that supposedly guard the teleporter home, but instead lead you to the shores of hell. It's a great way to make the player feel abandoned, especially with the jump scare at the end. Episode 2, The Shores of Hell, has the player trying to reach the Tower of Babel in order to defeat the cyber demon that guards the link between Hell and Mars, and getting to the tower is no easy task. This is when the game starts to get serious. Episode 3, Inferno, has Doomguy ascend down to Hell to kill the Spider Mastermind and close the gate. It's an excellent ending to the game, and you really feel a sense of accomplishment when you finally do it. Episode 4, Thy Flesh Consumed, was given away for free with fully registered versions of Doom, but was also sold as a standalone expansion, much like the Conqueror's expansion to Age of Empires 2. Episode 4 is essentially the prequel to Doom 2, Hell on Earth, and has Doomguy coming back to Mars, knocking out whatever remains of Hell along the way to stop anything else potentially reaching Earth. The episode is less consistent with ramping up Hell's presence and focuses much more on throwing you in the deep end, which I really like. These levels are much harder than the levels in the base game of Doom and feature more traps, large areas filled with monsters, and longer levels. The hardest of them all is Perfect Hatred, and it's still considered one of the hardest levels ever made for a Doom game. My favourite level in the whole game is Episode 3, Mission 3, Pandemonium. The level is really fast paced, has enemies that swarm you, and graphic imagery everywhere. It's the concept of Doom crammed all into one level. My favourite secret level is the military base that can be found in the first episode. It's essentially an endurance test that fills the map with bad guys and makes you use your weapons in creative ways to make it to the goal. I highly recommend this level in cooperative mode. Nightmare mode is where the game goes from hard to impossible. Its inclusion in the full retail version of the game is the ultimate test. Not only are the maps full of monsters, but they are stronger, respawn upon death, and move twice as fast. It's brutal. So I've given you the history of Doom, but there are still a few things I'm sure you don't know. So here are 5 interesting facts about the game that you can impress your friends and colleagues with.
Did you know Doom was once installed on more computers than Windows 95? The game was so popular that Bill Gates superimposed himself into a video of Doom just to show how confident he was in his new platform. Doom was then later ported to Windows 95 and became one of the platform's best-selling games. Did you know Doom was once going to be a movie license game for the Aliens franchise? Early demos of the game showcase weapons, environments, and themes that all relate to the film series. The name Doom actually comes from a quote from a movie called The Color of Money, starring Tom Cruise and Paul Newman. When Cruise's character is asked what he has in his pool case, he simply replies, Doom.
What you got in there?
In here? Doom.
The Cacodemon monster was directly inspired by a creature from the board game Dungeons & Dragons. The creature in question is called the Astral Dreadnought. Every level, aside from the bonus level in the episode Thy Flesh Consumed, is a direct reference to a passage from the King James Bible. For example, Proverbs 5:1 reads, "And thou mourn at last, when thy flesh and thy body are consumed."
So if you're thinking about playing Doom again or trying it for the very first time, I highly recommend playing it on PC. Not only is it the cheapest way to play the game, but it's very easy to modify given the huge amount of levels created by fans. The latest and greatest mod is called Brutal Doom, and it adds new guns, more blood, and violent animations, just in case you thought Doom wasn't violent enough already. Today, Doom is as strong as ever. It's a game that will never fade into obscurity because at its core, it's a fun game. It had a successful reboot in 2016 for modern consoles, and the newest entry is planned for 2020.
So that's Doom, a classic video game that still holds up today and is a must for anyone looking at the history of interactive entertainment. My name is William Malamphy, thank you for watching.